There we go. Thanks, Karen.
Okay. So my name is Karen Elliott, and I'm excited to introduce you to Cinareo, the most accurate, easy, and effective capacity planning solution for contact centers. So how long are you actually willing to wait on hold to speak to a customer service agent? Imagine phoning Rogers or Bell or even your bank. Would you wait on hold for a few minutes, maybe 15 minutes? How tolerant would you be? I recently had to call Air Canada, and I literally waited on hold for almost an hour to talk to someone. And by the time I got through, I was frustrated and my issue wasn't even resolved. So waiting on hold is a huge problem across all industries. Companies can risk losing customers like me to a competitor if they make people wait on hold for customer support. And I'm sure all of us have at least one horror story on the length of time we've been kept on hold. So imagine phoning 911 with a life or death emergency. How long would you be willing to wait on hold for? Because last year in Toronto, the average time on hold was over 6 minutes. And I've been talking to you for about a minute. So imagine 6 minutes would feel like a lifetime when you have a medical emergency. Currently, people wait on hold for 26 hours in any given year. And there's this golden standard called the 80-20 rule. In other words, the optimal response time is that 80% of calls get answered in 20 seconds. And I think having to wait on hold for Air Canada for like an hour or even 6 minutes with 911 is a far cry from meeting that standard. So why is this happening? Well, firstly, capacity planning is really hard. And the bigger the company, the harder it gets. I can sit here and fume at Air Canada and wonder why the hell there's just not more agents to take my call, but it's hard to calculate. There are a ton of variables to consider on how many calls one agent can handle in a day. How fast do you want to answer calls? What's the call volume? Do I need more agents in the morning or the evening? What about emails or live chat? Should they juggle those along with calls? And what about things like meetings or training or vacation time? The variables you have to consider to optimize staffing are enormous. And on top of that, attrition rates in contact centers are soaring. Agent turnover is up to 150% in any given year. Trying to keep on top of having an agent onboarded and trained before someone else leaves is a daunting process. But if you hire too many people, you're wasting money on salaries. And if you hire too few, your agents will suffer burnout and your customers will be waiting on hold for an hour like me. And the bigger you are, the more complex it gets. So how are companies currently figuring this out? Well, take a look at this. Most organizations are using these complex, formula-driven Excel spreadsheets because there's nothing better that they know of. This is just a small sample of what a capacity plan might look like in Excel, and look at this horror show. These plans can take weeks, if not months, to build. It's not easily consumable, it's riddled with complex formulas, and the chance of you getting something wrong is huge in a plan like this. We have a case study that shows just being 1% wrong in your formula results in a contact center that has 130 agents, a loss of just under $900,000. Contact centers can't afford to be wrong. Large enterprise companies are doing this. Companies like Air Canada, Walmart, even Elections Canada, they all do this. There are layers and layers of complexity in trying to calculate how many people you need because it's based on so many variables. And if you rely on guesswork, well, you'll inevitably be wrong. So enter Cinareo. We wanted to build a solution that didn't require you to have a PhD in math to figure out, a solution that even a novice could use. So with Cinareo, you use a simple step-by-step wizard and enter the data and click a button to calculate. All the complex formulas are hidden under the covers. There should be no need for Air Canada to have to hire a consultant like me for months on end to build them a capacity plan in Excel when they can use a tool like Cinareo to create an accurate capacity plan in their copy break. So the goal of creating Cinareo was to build an online solution to replace these complex spreadsheets and provide an easier, faster, and more accurate way to do resource planning. And Cinareo will not only tell you how many agents you need, but it will provide you with a detailed financial plan, including how much money you need to start hiring people ahead of attrition and put a bum in a seat that's still warm. Cinareo will tell you the exact number of agents you need every 50 minutes of every single day to make sure your customers are never waiting on hold. It makes capacity planning easy and painless, and it removes the guesswork and complexity. And it's a tool that is simple, understandable, practical, effective, and repeatable. A solution that is super easy, super fast, and super accurate. So there are over 60,000 contact centers just in North America alone, and that's over 80% of the market. We have two main target customers, in-house contact centers. So for example, a company like TD Bank might have a contact center in their branch that handles customer calls and emails. And then there's also BPOs, which are called business process outsourcers. Some companies hire external BPOs to handle all their customer support. And one example is Elections Canada. They do support in-house, but when an election ramps up in Canada, they hire a BPO to outsource all their customer support because they're going to be flooded with calls during an election. And guess how Elections Canada currently does capacity planning? You guessed it, spreadsheets, and they lose millions of dollars every election because they do not have an effective and efficient way to handle complex capacity planning. One of our current large BPO clients has told us that Cinareo saves them up to 75% of their time compared to using Excel. That efficiency that Cinareo can provide is tremendous. So there's a large number of workforce management platforms on the market, but a missing gap in all these platforms is the ability to handle complex capacity planning. You'll see the red dots, which represent all the big players in the market currently, and you'll notice that Excel is down here in the corner. Because without the formulas and equations and a great deal of sweat from a real person, Excel is not meant to be a capacity planning tool. And up here on the right, which is a bit grayed out, there's a platform called Genesis. Now, Genesis used to have a capacity planning tool they called Genesis Decisions, which was dedicated actually to complex capacity planning. However, they sunsetted it because it was poorly designed, complicated to use, and the amount of support and training and understanding that was needed was just beyond most people in the industry. And so now they have this glaring gap in their platform, and they have actually come to us, Cinareo, to ask us to join their app foundry and be the solution that their customers are looking for. They were amazed to see how easy and simple Cinareo was to use. Just with a click of the button, you get all the information at your fingertips. And in addition to that, the price point is extremely attractive. These companies hire full-time capacity planners and consultants like me for months on end to create capacity plans in Excel. But now I've basically replaced myself with a simple and effective solution that will save them a huge amount of time and money. Our software has a base licensing cost of $25,000 per site license on an annual subscription with additional fees per user. Considering just being 1% wrong can end up with a loss of almost $1 million, this is extremely cost effective. Our sales strategy is based on two different approaches, which is both direct sales, relationship management, and the VAR model. So we're connecting to a lot of potential customers for product demos through our relationships in the network, specifically targeting North America as a start. And the VAR market is going to be targeting specific geographies. We're hoping that by using these two approaches, we can penetrate the market and finally have a solution in the marketplace that addresses this huge pain point these people have been suffering for years: how to create effective, accurate capacity plans that save time and money. We've gotten a tremendous amount of momentum in the last few months. We initially were targeting small to medium-sized companies, but now the large enterprises have actually been proactive in reaching out to us, asking us for a demo and wanting to find out if our solution will meet their needs. We have several paying customers right now, including PwC, Bill Gosling, DHU Healthcare in the UK. We have proof of concept trials happening with other clients, including some of the larger ones you see here as Noel. One of the prospects, FoundEver, which is one of the largest contact centers in the world, we're doing a proof of concept with. They have over 200,000 agents globally and over 500 workforce planners. Imagine having 500 people dedicated to capacity planning and using Excel. This is millions and millions of dollars of potential savings they could have using a scenario like Cinareo. These large enterprises are eager to provide us with their input. They give us their spreadsheets to see what we can do with our data. The more we penetrate the market, the greater the chance that these organizations can increase their customer retention and allow people like you and me just to wait on hold mere seconds rather than minutes. Our roadmap over the next year has some key features and functionalities that our prospects are waiting for. Right now, due to the interest at the enterprise level, we have decided to refactor our architecture to make it more scalable to meet the needs of a much larger audience. We're using the revenue from our paying clients, along with a BDC loan, to fund a lot of the development costs, but we also recognize the need to scale up quickly and aggressively, especially understanding the potential we have with these enterprise clients. Our financial forecast includes anticipated aggressive growth over the next couple years. This includes bringing on dedicated salespeople, expanding our team to include a chief technical officer, product manager, partner manager, and extensive marketing support. We have a huge push over the next year, as you saw in our product roadmap, to bring some key features into the tool that customers have told us are vital to their success. So our goal is to get funding and investment that will let us develop these features as soon as possible to meet the requirements that these large enterprises have been approaching us for. With our extensive experience in the contact center industry, we understand the pain points, and we are in a position to deliver the best possible solution for them. But to do it quickly, we need the funds to do so. Our goal is to raise $1 million to fund our roadmap over the next 12 months to address the key features that are being asked for by our large enterprise clients. Investment will be used to scale up sales staff, management staff, and to help fund the development of the next phase of our software to increase revenue and profit. We currently have a BDC loan for $250,000, which is funding our development now. And we're also going to be going after IRAP funding as soon as we increase our employee base. The investment will also be used to build API integrations so that the larger workforce management platforms on the market can use Cinareo to fill the gap that exists now. Mark Alpern and myself are the co-founders of Cinareo. I have over 25 years of experience in digital transformation and software design, and I spent 12 years with the IBM Software and Innovation Lab, simplifying complex software with a focus on the user experience. My co-founder, Mark Alpern, has over 25 years dedicated to workforce management and has built contact centers from the ground up, and has spent the last several years as a successful contact center C-suite executive. We have been working together for 10 years as management consultants to optimize contact center operations. And we truly understand the pain points that exist in the industry and what contact centers need to be successful. We also have two advisors. James McKenzie is a serial entrepreneur who has built and sold several successful businesses, and Bob Spears, who has over 25 years of enterprise software solutioning experience. With these advisors and with the strong validation we've received in the market, we believe we have developed a software solution that can redefine capacity planning in the contact center industry for large enterprise companies like Air Canada, which will be able to optimize their workforce and save them a huge amount of time and money. We're looking forward to sharing this journey with our advisors and investors to ensure the adoption and success of Cinareo as the most simple, efficient, and effective capacity planning solution on the market. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen. Great job.
How did I do with time?
Well, exactly 12 minutes.
Oh, okay. Maybe I have to shorten it because I know I talk fast.
Yeah, no, that was good. And welcome, Alec, who's joined our expert panel here. So I'm going to turn it over to Nick, Marissa, Julia, Alec, who would like to go first with feedback for Karen? Just jump in.
Sure, I'll go. Really good presentation, Karen. Just quick things I'll fire through. At the beginning, when you're talking about the market and the problem, I don't know that you go into 911. It doesn't sound like you're really addressing that issue. Just focus on the Rogers, the Air Canada, the telecoms. They seem like different issues. Like I know it's still capacity management. There's some similar issues, but you got me thinking about you're going to solve issues with 911, and then all the examples are about others. So there are very different cost ramifications to these things. One is public health and safety and tragedy, and one is, you know, pissing me off and Roger's going to lose me as a customer. And everyone gets that problem. You don't have to spend too much time on that one in the bin. You went around it quite a bit. Everybody freaking gets it. So you had me at hello on that one. You also touched on the problem of attrition. You don't solve attrition issue.
No, to stay on top of attrition, so you can hire.
So I would just minimize that, or like, you know, you're solving the planning issue. They're spending a whole bunch of money. They're not doing a good job on planning. Just focus on the capacity management. Focus on that, because one of my thoughts was, well, maybe the reason I'm stuck on Rogers all the time, the 90% of the problem is attrition, because they know how many people they need, but they can't get them. So I'm stuck on hold, and your product won't solve that problem. So maybe just don't focus on that part of the problem and zero in really on the problem that you're solving. A couple other things, capacity management. You didn't really talk about the variables at play that happen. Like there's a Rogers outage, you know, that's not something your typical capacity management can handle, but maybe you can talk about 80% of capacity management is actually just knowing what you need to know versus crazy variables like an outage that might happen, or a storm that Air Canada, although I'm sure, you know, Weather Network.
Or a pandemic.
Yeah. Your examples, you gave a competitive, your Boston Consulting Group matrix, top right corner, you were there, but all your examples were talking about replacing Excel, which was in the very bottom left of the corner, and not the other solutions out there. So at some point, you might touch on the features that are unique to Cinareo versus the other bona fide capacity management tools that are out there that aren't sort of, you know, rolling up your sleeves and coming up with a custom formula in Excel. And then just last one, small one might be, you come off as really credible, you know this space. So you might touch on how this gets ingested in a large enterprise and sort of the change management and the sales cycle, and how you might not even know all of that right now, but, you know, understanding, you know, or being able to show that, listen, this can be really easy for Air Canada to implement and get immediate savings, and it doesn't require training 35 people and convincing 80 people in various chains to, you know, accept it. Those are things you can overcome either way, but touching on that and how this can be, gets an investor excited that, wow, this could move quickly and they could, you know, they could start landing some big customers. I'm going to get a better valuation if I invest right now. Let's, I better move. That'll be helpful.
Okay.
That's it for me.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That's great.
Nick, Alec, do you want to go?
Sure. I was struggling to find the invite amongst all my calendars, so I apologize. I missed a couple of the initial slides. I mean, I like the fact that you have a product, you have revenue. I would have liked to have seen that sooner. Of course, maybe you did in the first couple of slides.
No, I did not, so I could bring that up higher.
Yeah, you know, because I think it just brings up the credibility, because you're talking a lot about the problem and all the benefits, whereas I want to know the credibility is that you have something that you're already selling. I felt that, you know, the business model was kind of like covering everything. I felt the roadmap was covering everything. It was all too broad. I would like to see more focus. Kind of goes back to initially, you know, identifying who your initial customers are, proving that you have a product market fit for those particular customers and what market they're in, and then, you know, showing, you know, why the roadmap keeps you focused and helps you gain the traction. Same idea that Nick was mentioning around the enterprise, because that's, you have all these features that you have to have for enterprise. So if I knew a bit more about your existing customers and how your product currently fit, then I would understand why you needed those features.
Okay.
But yeah, that was about it, I guess.
Great, thank you.
Great. Thanks.
I can go next.
Great.
Karen, I love the enthusiasm. You're really good at storytelling. That's really, that came through. You clearly articulated what the problem was, maybe a little bit too long on what the problem is. You know, I think back to some of the points that Nick was saying, maybe a little bit more on how you're solving it. In terms of, like, you talk about the technology, you talk about how it replaces Excel, but not so much on the how it does it and what the actual benefits are in terms of how easy it is to, as Nick said, how easy it is to integrate, what's the training like, how many people need to use it. Also, at the end of the presentation, you showed the fantastic list of all the clients and prospective clients that you have. And my thought was, what do you need an investor for? It sounds like you're going like great guns. And then you're talking about how you want to develop some more functionality that your clients are asking you for. So it left me thinking, well, is it because the clients won't buy it until you have that functionality? Or is it because they now have the beta version or the phase 1 version? And are you going to charge them more with the new functionality? So I was a little bit unclear about that. So
they're waiting. They're like, tell us when you have that.
and that's why you need the funding. Okay, so that if you could bring that up, that would be great. Yeah, I think that's pretty much what I had.
Great, thank you, thank you.
And I'll just round it out, Karen. You've got great feedback already, but I would come in a little bit stronger with your credentials. You've been doing this for 10 friggin' years, so you're like an expert. And I agree with Alec. You're at revenue, right? You want to wake the investors up, because they might be have listened to 5 presentations already, and it's like, oh, more presentations, and so you want to wake them up right at the beginning and say, wow, you want to hear more about this particular company and this particular product. I was looking at your numbers from a revenue standpoint, and the other thing your chart said is that it says 2023, 2024, 1 million in revenue. So are you government year? Are you ending, your year end is March 31st?
Yeah.
So that's that 1 million, almost, or you're halfway through the year then? Yeah, you're halfway through the year. It's good to try and put that in perspective too, and it might be just marking it a little differently to give you to get that across. But I always try and figure out where those years are. Do you have an IRAP rep already?
No, because we don't have employees right now, and we need someone with a T4.
Okay, but you need someone with a T4, but do you have a contact at IRAP?
Yes, we do. We've been talking to them.
Okay, because it's just, you got to move quickly with IRAP right now. There's a lot of changes happening. So,
Okay.
things are drying up very rapidly.
Yeah.
And so, maintain that connection, find out what you need, and do not let them, it's just that it's being put under the Canadian Innovation Corporation, a new corporation.
Yeah,
So
okay.
everything's going to freeze for like a year.
Okay. We just don't have employees right now, right? We don't
Get an employee so you can, I don't know, whatever you need to do, get that money before it's too
Okay.
late. Okay. Well done though. I like your pace. Yeah, slightly fast, but you kept a good rhythm all the way through too. So it was easy to understand and I could follow. Well done.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Great. And thanks. And Karen, I neglected to mention, so we recorded the session, obviously, and we'll send you and your coach a copy of the recording. And our 4 experts here are all going to dutifully fill out the form and get you the feedback in writing as well.
That is awesome. I appreciate all feedback. Thank you so much.
All right.